Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my Premier League Matchweek 25 predictions, where today we've got some absolutely fantastic games to talk about. But before we jump into that, I would like to apologize for missing last week's prediction video. Unfortunately, I was sick, I was totally useless, but I am back this time around and I do feel a lot better. And this time, I promise you, the only thing that'll be sick are the games. Let's jump into it. Now, looking at our first game of the match week, we have Fulham versus Wolves. Now, to be honest, from the naked eye, I can really only see one winner here, with Fulham getting a 1-0 win. I mean, looking at their previous game versus Brighton, they managed to get the points without their main man up front, Mitrovic. Obviously, he's struggling with a hamstring injury. They still won't have him versus Wolves, but I don't think there'll be a problem. Looking at Wolves, they've just been so uninspirational this season.
How dare you!
And versus a Fulham team who are currently fighting for a European spot. Still can't believe I'm saying that. As I said, I can only see one winner. That takes us on to Everton versus Villa for our next game. Now, looking at Everton, they can be so tremendously proud of themselves. Going from 3 wins in 20 under Frank Lampard to 2 and 3 under Sean Dyche, it just shows how the man with the gravelly voice has totally transformed this club, and they could get points versus Villa. Obviously, looking at Villa, although they were crushed on the scoreline versus Arsenal, I don't think that was a good representation of how good they actually were. The only reason they ended up losing is because there was some sort of Qatari spell put on Martinez, kind of a bit of karma, if you can like to say that.
It's be about time.
But looking at Aston Villa, I don't think they're a bad team. I do think this will go down as a draw, and I'm going to make it 1-1. I do think the difference maker for Aston Villa will be Watkins. Of course, he's been brilliant this season. I mean, Watkins, more like what scores Ollie does. Oh shit, the jokes just aren't getting better. We'll work on them, I promise.
You have lost the fans tonight. You don't deserve the fans.
That takes us on to a gigantic relegation battle next, with Leeds United versus Southampton. Now, obviously, Leeds United have got a brand new manager with Garcia, because if there's one thing that motivates a relegation zone club, it's by bringing in a manager who's been relegated.
Sometimes my genius is... it's almost frightening.
But obviously, jokes aside, I hope it does work out for Leeds United, especially versus Southampton and James Ward-Beckham. Obviously, looking at these two teams, I do think it could go genuinely either way. But for some reason, under new managers, teams have done quite well in the Premier League this season. And I do think they're going to have that extra bit of motivation to get a 2-1 win. Next up, we have one of the biggest games of the match week with Leicester City versus Arsenal. Now, looking at Leicester City versus Manchester United, I can now confirm that Wout Faes has to be the worst centre-back I've ever seen. And I support a club who've had these men in that centre-back position. But look at Leicester City, defensively just not quite where they need to be, and versus an Arsenal team that can be brilliant on the attacking front, I do think they will take it, and I do think they will take it 2-0. West Ham versus Nottingham Forest is next. Now looking at Nottingham Forest, although they were totally chopped down in the beginning of the season, they've really grown into something quite beautiful. They've gotten some brilliant points as of late. They've recently gotten a draw versus Man City, and versus West Ham United, I think they'll continue to get 3 points. I think they're going to end up getting a 1-0, obviously looking at West Ham in their game versus Tottenham Hotspur, really proving defensively that they've got way too many gaps in defense. Obviously, this was the first team in like 20 years Nottingham Forest got a Premier League win with, and I think they're going to get another one. The bloodbath of Bournemouth versus Man City is next. Now, yes, that might sound a tiny bit harsh, but looking at these two teams, on the last 11 times they played against each other in the Premier League, on 7 of those occasions, Man City have scored at least 3 goals past them. So in terms of keeping a clean sheet, I mean, I think we've got more chance of my 90-year-old gran keeping a clean sheet than Bournemouth here. But looking at them, I just don't see it happening. And I can see City scoring 3 goals past them. Once again, City also a team that have dropped weird points so far this season. But versus Bournemouth, I shouldn't see a problem here. Now that takes us on to Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. Now my one problem with making a prediction like this is looking at Liverpool is they are a very form-driven team. When they gain form, they gain some serious momentum and they get the ball rolling. Well, I guess that's how football works. But at this exact moment in time, I don't know how to describe Liverpool's form. 2 wins in their last 2 Premier League games, but they've just lost 5-2 to Real Madrid. I've got no idea what to make of Liverpool, and I do think that they could draw versus Crystal Palace. Yes, I know that might sound a tiny bit harsh, but looking at Crystal Palace, although no, they're not getting wins as of late, they've gotten some draws versus some very top opposition. They do need to convert those 2-3 points though, but the draws they've gotten so far this season, I wouldn't be surprised. Next up, we've got arguably the biggest game of the match week with Tottenham Hotspurs versus Chelsea. The fixture that brought us that handshake that broke Thomas Tuchel and therefore broke Chelsea. This was the game that changed everything in my opinion. Now looking at these two teams once again, an absolute lot on the line for both of them. Obviously Tottenham Hotspurs would want to keep their top four place. Obviously Chelsea would like to keep their top of the table place, if you can put it like that.
Well, this is going to hurt like a mother.
And it could be an incredibly close game because although Tottenham Hotspurs have been in much better form than Chelsea, Chelsea just have been dominating this fixture. The last time Tottenham Hotspurs won this fixture was in 2018. So of course, once again, a game with a lot of pride in it. But just looking at the points that Chelsea have been dropping as of late, I just can't see them getting any more. I do think Tottenham Hotspurs will win this one. I don't think it will be a super magnificent game. I mean, it could be very close, but not a lot of goals in it. And I do think Spurs will take it 1-0. Now quickly jumping into the two replays that are also happening this week. Obviously two teams are playing twice because of the Carabao Cup final. Some of the games have been moved around. But looking at Arsenal versus Everton, obviously the second game for both of these two teams, the last time they played against each other, Everton did get the result. And although I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again, I do think Arsenal have learned from their mistakes and I am going to give them a 1-0 win. In terms of Liverpool versus Wolves, once again we've seen Wolves give quite a few problems to Liverpool this season. But once again, I've got no idea what to make of this Liverpool team. But I am going to give them a 1-0 win here. Once again, it's a gut feeling. We'll see what happens. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for my Premier League Match Week 25 predictions. Once again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Once again, it helps the channel out massively. Still on the road to 10,000 subscribers, along with liking the video down below. And of course, on top of that, don't forget to put your predictions down below. But guys, until next time, this has been Finn, FYNN. Cheers.